What's up, everybody? ASMR Mills here, coming at you with a brand new video. And in this video, we're gonna be breaking down how you can absolutely dominate pistol rounds in patch 2.03. They might be tiny guns, but as the saying goes, it's not the size of the gun, it's how you use it. So we're gonna be breaking down what guns are good and bad in this meta, how you should be using them, and then the top 5 tips for pistol rounds so that you can have more impact and climb, because this is the singular most important round in the entire game. But go to the GameLeap website in the links down below for in-depth advanced guides, VOD reviews, tips and tricks, and exclusive content you won't find anywhere else. If you want to climb to Immortal as quickly as possible, do yourself a favor, go check it out in the links down below. But without further ado, let's jump into the video. Now we gotta break down each and every one of the guns that you can pick on pistol round, talk about which ones are good and bad after the big frenzy nerf and all the changes that came with patch 2.03 and before, and then talk about overall what weapons you should be using and how you should be using them. Now first off, we gotta talk about the classic pistol, which is back at the top of the meta. Classic pistol's absolutely amazing. Not only is it the only mid-range weapon that you can buy with armor, that means you could survive a ghost headshot, it just allows you to put your money into other things, whether that means abilities, which are more powerful in pistol round. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, and just overall, the classic pistol is versatile. It can be a mid-range weapon when you need it, but when you get up close and personal, it can be the best weapon to finish off a kill, or even one-shot someone from max health. And all of this combined just make classic pistol one of the most consistent, reliable weapons that is going to be more used than any other gun in pistol round. Now, the big question that you have to ask yourself when rocking the classic is, should you be rocking light armor or not? A lot of the times you have to ask yourself, are the abilities that you're actually getting over the light armor worth it? Because most of the time, getting that light armor might just be your best bet. Think about a character like Raze, for instance. Maybe you want to rock that classic pistol, and you could get 2 blast packs and the boom bot with no armor, or you could get rid of one of your blast packs and rock armor. Now you could survive a ghost pistol headshot while still having most of your abilities, and that might be a lot better than not rocking that armor at all. So definitely keep all these things in mind to ultimately make the call based on your situation, where you're playing, and your character. Now moving on to the next weapon in pistol round that is very, very good right now, and it's the Ghost, which is back in the meta. You heard that right, aim is actually going to matter in pistol round again. And one of the most important things that you should be doing with Ghost pistols though is engaging from further away. The classic pistol is going to be less effective from that further distance away. They're not going to be able to get right clicks on you either, and if any people are still using the frenzy, which some of them will be, you're going to want to distance yourself as far as you possibly can from any angles that they might be holding. This also means wide swinging or far swinging angles is most likely going to be the best thing that you could be doing when trying to take sight control, and just being extra cautious that you never get within that mid to close range of any other enemy. Now something that's incredibly underrated that you need to be doing more with the Ghost pistol is spamming through smokes. Remember, it is silenced, which is something that I feel like a lot of people don't think about enough. The enemy cannot see where the bullets are coming from when you're spamming them through the smoke with the Ghost pistol. And it is also important for you to understand that the Ghost pistol is not a weapon that every single character can use. Let's go back to that Raze example. If you wanted to rock a Ghost pistol, not only do you not get armor, but you could only get one other ability. Now, that's a huge sacrifice, and most of the time, it's really not worth what you're trading for, because in that exact scenario, you could get armor, a weapon that's pretty comparable in the classic pistol, an extra ability altogether, instead of just getting that Ghost, and that's a really hard bargain. So some characters are going to want to rock Ghost more, but it really depends on what type of abilities you want to rock, and some other factors that we're going to break down later. Now the next weapon we gotta talk about is the Frenzy, which is still pretty decent. You gotta remember that even in the old days when Frenzy wasn't great, it still saw random play here or there, but more than likely it was played in conjunction with another person on a site, and they played a far angle that enemies had to swing out, and they would punish them with the Frenzy. It was an amazing weapon for refragging on point and moving around, and it still is, even though it's 500 credits. Now, most of the time, though, Frenzy is not going to be your best option, because if you can no longer buy that armor, you're going to be able to get shut down by that Ghost just getting that headshot on you, which could be very annoying. And because of this fact, less people on your team are going to be rocking Frenzies. There's going to be less rushing going on, so it's going to be harder to get in position to be effective with the Frenzy. Frenzy, for these reasons, is going to be a lot better on defense than attack. And remember that some characters are going to be able to use the frenzy better. For instance, if you're playing a character like Jet, being able to dash into a really powerful swing angle and catching an enemy off guard with the frenzy can be really, really powerful. And you don't even really need armor for that because you want to buy smokes and updraft anyways. So that's just something that you can set up. So think about all these factors before you decide to rock a frenzy. Now, the next two weapons that we got to talk about is the Sheriff and the Shorty. And realistically, there is no reason to run either of these weapons. And you might be like, what the heck? What the heck? What are you talking about? These weapons are absolutely great because of this, this, and this. Well, let me explain reasoning why you shouldn't be rocking either of these weapons and pistols. First off, the Sheriff is a weapon that is powerful because of its one-shot capability, and it's also powerful because of its matchup up against other weapons. You have very good crosshair placement, and an enemy who swings around the corner with a Vandal, you click the head, you win the matchup, you get to upgrade that gun, and that really brings a lot of power to the gun. Now, when you're talking about the lower weapon power of all these pistols, not only are you getting less actual damage out of your Sheriff, it's gonna be hard to fight prolonged fights than something like a Ghost, which has much more ammo, and the Ghost is gonna be able to one-shot, headshot a lot of other people as well. So in the head-to-head matchup, you're just at a fundamental disadvantage. Not to mention the most important aspect, which is something I'm going to break down in my top 5 tips, which is, spoiler alert, abilities are freaking crazy powerful in pistol round, and you are not rocking any of them. So why in the world would you rock a Sheriff and forgo all these amazing, powerful abilities? And you might be saying, hey, none of the abilities on my character are good enough to run. Yeah, bullshit. Every single character has amazing abilities to run on pistol round. And if you can think of a character that has abilities that are overly weak on pistol round, let me know in the comments down below. And I'm sure someone else in the comments will tell you why you're wrong. But let's talk about the Shorty. And it's a gun that, yes, you can cheese out some value with the Shorty, but the Shorty is bad for a multitude of reasons. But instead of talking about why the Shorty is bad, let's talk about what makes the Shorty good in what scenarios. The best case scenario for a Shorty is that you're holding somewhere like Defense Garage in Haven, and an enemy walks in or lurks up with a Vandal or Phantom, and you kill that person, you take their gun, and now you got a free upgrade for only 200 credits. That's the best case scenario. Now, how often is that going to happen on pistol round? A lot less frequent, and even if it does happen, a lot of the time, it's not going to be worth the upgrade. I mean, what are you upgrading even to, and why can't you just buy those guns yourself? You got to understand that the Shorty represents a Hail Mary play where you hope that players come across your path when they have better guns than you, and you catch them off guard with the burst of that Shorty. But you don't need to play for such Hail Marys when you're playing in a pistol round. You don't need to play for such Hail Marys when enemies could go other points, and you yourself could just buy a pistol, and you can fight even if enemies don't go to your point. Add all that together and combine it with the fact that even if somehow they do go to the place that you're specifically holding, you don't get that much value out of everything going right. You're typically gonna just die because multiple people are gonna come and you're not gonna be able to stop them because they're rushing. And even if you don't die, you don't get a lot of value in your upgrade because you're just upgrading to other pistols you could have bought anyways. So for all these factors combined, Shorty is not the greatest thing you should be buying, and the Sheriff and the Shorty are weapons that I would highly suggest not running in this first pistol round, even if they're good in many other scenarios. Now let's talk about the top 5 tips and things that you need to know to have way more successful pistol rounds, period, in patch 2.03. Now the first and most important thing is the REYNA and KILLJOY problem. Now, REYNA no longer has the maximum devours, but she still has 2, and that is plenty to dominate a pistol round. If you feed a REYNA a kill and she gets up to that 150, she can be freaking unstoppable with a Ghost or a Frenzy in her hands. And for these reasons, it is very important for you to never take isolated duels with a REYNA. If you are with an ally, you literally want to force that REYNA to use her Dismiss instead of her Devour. It is incredibly important to prevent her from getting that overheal, getting above the one-shot capability of Ghost if she didn't buy armor, and just make sure that you don't let that REYNA go unchecked, and it is your responsibility not to die to her in isolation. And then the next problem is the KILLJOY problem, and honestly, most of the time, avoiding the KILLJOY is going to be your best bet. If you know a KILLJOY is on a site, her utility is so powerful. Between her turrets, all of her utility like Nanoswarm, you're going to have a better time just going on a different site. Pushing up mid, pushing on the entire opposite side of the map. These are going to be more consistent and reliable than harassing the Killjoy. Now, that being said, you can bait out a little bit of utility. You can play in default for a while, but you never want to rush onto site when you have to rush and then deal with the Killjoy turret when you have pistols. That's going to be freaking awful. So I'd highly suggest avoiding her altogether if you can in pistols. Now, the second thing that you need to understand is that abilities are more powerful on pistol rounds than in any other round. And you might be saying, why is that true? Well, you just got to think about it. The guns are weaker, so the abilities take up more of the power level in any given round. Think about something like a Sage Wall. That's exponentially more powerful when the enemies can't just burst it down with ARs, right? Think about a weapon like the Shock Dart on Sova. That does a ton of damage, and because enemies can't buy a lot of armor, and if they do, they're sacrificing other abilities and weapons, that means that you're gonna get them so damn weak. This means that how well you use your abilities on pistol rounds can be the absolute deciding factor in whether or not you win or lose the team fight. So make sure that you're really thinking about how you're using it, you're not wasting abilities, and you're using them with intent. Then we go to the next thing that you need to understand about pistol rounds is that rush pushes are going to be far more common, and you need to know this for attack and defense. From an attacker's point of view, you're going to rush a lot more, and you got to get used to that. Duelists, you need to go in, no baiting, take site control, and everyone else needs to refrag the duelist if the duelist dies. Don't let the duelist go in and die alone, and don't just stand around and let enemies rotate either, because people are going to rotate quicker on that pistol round because of the first thing I said, which rushes happen more. And moving on to the next thing, the next tip that you absolutely need for pistol round, and it's the attack versus defense. And you got to understand that depending on where you're playing on attack versus defense, where you're pushing and how you're holding, that's gonna change what you buy. Now, a good example of this is, let's say you're playing Sage on like Split, for instance. If you're playing mid on defense, you probably want as many abilities as you could buy, and you're not gonna wanna buy armor, you just wanna have as many abilities as you possibly can because you need to stall that enemy. But if you're on attack, some of your abilities might not be as powerful, like Slow Wars, for instance, and you would rather opt for something else altogether, like a Ghost Pistol. So you gotta think about how you are going to be playing these rounds, what that means for your character. Don't just auto buy the same setup every single round, no matter what. Now, the last thing that you need to be doing to dominate pistol round, it's pretty easy, but you gotta do it, and it's practicing with the Ghost and Classic. Practice in training bots, practice in free-for-all. Yes, it's gonna be brutal, but practice in free-for-all. Practice everywhere you possibly can, because practicing with these guns just a little bit every single day is gonna exponentially improve your skill in these rounds. And like I said, these are the most important rounds out of any other round. You're consistently winning pistol round, and it's gonna have a huge effect on your win rate overall. So do yourself a favor, put time and effort into honing your pistol round, perfect it, dominate it, be confident in yourself because you practice, and you're gonna start climbing as a result. But speaking of climbing, go to the GameLeap website in the links down below for the best high quality guides you'll find anywhere, with in-depth advanced VODs teaching you step by step exactly what you should be doing in your games, to mechanical tips, agent courses, and much, much more. Do yourself a favor, go check it out in the links down below. But thank you so much for coming by. I hope you enjoyed the video. That's all I got for you today. I love your faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.